The views, opinions, and representations expressed on the Night Dreams Talk Radio Network and its website are those of the hosts, guests, and participants, and are not necessarily those of or endorsed by the network, its affiliated stations and broadcasts, the management, other hosts, or advertisers of the network. The shows found on the Night Dreams Talk Radio Network can, but do not necessarily, promote any particular lifestyle, belief, religion, political affiliation, or other personal practice. These shows are for entertainment purposes only and are not intended to treat, diagnose, and or claim any cure of disease or condition or give any medical or legal advice.
You are all.
Everybody's voting for the friendly voice of radio, the people's choice. Music, weather, sports, and news, it's radio. The people choose. Everybody swinging to the swinging voice of radio, the people's choice. Big fry, small fry, dawn to dawn, it's radio.
Coming to you from some far point station, like a cosmic tumbleweed, both north and south of the Pleiades. Here's your host, Gary Anderson.
Well, here I am. I hope everybody's is having a great week. Here it is, the middle of the week, and next thing I know, it's going to be the weekend, and then it starts all over again. Well, here at the compound, down at the harbor, the weather is so fantastic today. I spent a little time there buffing up my Harley, getting ready to go for a ride tomorrow. What can I say? Well, tonight we got Jared Bratt is on, talking about his new movie. He'll be on right after this.
You can advertise your business on Night Dreams Talk Radio, and you will be heard worldwide. Why not contact us at nightdreamstalkradio@gmail.com.
Well, Jared, how you doing tonight, my friend?
Hi, I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for having me on.
Well, yeah. Well, tell everybody a little bit about yourself, Jared. What got you into making movies?
Okay, what got me into making movies? I'd like to think I was pretty much born and raised on film. At one point, I thought I wanted to be an animator, but I think really early on, I think my dad raised my entire family on going to the movies. So as far back as I can remember, I've just always been interested into film. And I think even at an early age, I've been pretty laser focused on just making movies. So I consider that myself pretty lucky in that aspect.
Well,
I've gotten into it.
Well, Jared, were you one of the young kids that picked up a camera and started filming when you were young? When did the bug hit you?
Well, look, it's an interesting. I grew up on movies. Early '80s. All through the 90s, movies were shot on film, but the only reason I can call myself a filmmaker is because I guess for me, when I was in college, late high school, let's say early college, I started making movies on when everything started going digital, like mini DV. So I always think it's an interesting contrast because I have I've never made a movie on actual film, so I owe it all to the digital revolution. So I would say when I was about from the age of 14, that's when I started actually producing short films. Everything before that, lots of drawing, and more so just in my own imagination. But from 14 on, that's when all the production stuff started happening, messing around with friends. Eventually, I'd go into film studies, major in that in college or in Montreal, where I'm from, Montreal, Canada. It's university, and then moved to Toronto in 2009. Went to a 9-month film production intensive. I never had any formal training. It was always just messing around or making stuff, kind of self-taught. Even as I do a lot of video editing as well. But I always wanted that production, hands-on training, and so it's actually I always consider myself very lucky to have kind of both ends of one coin. I have the self-taught, just figuring stuff out, breaking all the rules because you don't know the rules, you never learned them. And then I have the actual film school side of it to apply to what I kind of learned on my own. And I think that's, not everybody gets to experience both ways. And I think it's worked out for me, having done it all in whichever way. So it's, I can't really complain in terms of how everything is molded and shaped into what my film background now is.
Oh, yeah. Like we were talking before we went on the air, I've been into radio one way or another since I was like 10 years old. I got my first citizen band radio, and then by the time I was 12, I had my amateur license. And then in the early 20s, after I got out of the military, I got on commercial broadcasting. But one thing, my other passion besides broadcasting was photography. I mean, I was like 8, 9 years old. My grandmother gave me one of these little plastic Ansco cameras, and I started taking pictures. And that stuck where I got my own darkroom and all that. And then one of the times of being in broadcasting, I got burned out, and I took like a 10-year break in broadcasting and managed a chain of professional camera stores. And that's when cameras were just coming out digitally. The half a megapixel, 1 megapixel. I sat there and told the owners, in about 10 years from now, film cameras will be dead. And you know what? I was 100% right. Nowadays, you can go out and buy a Fuji or some of the other cameras for around $1,000 that's totally capable of making movies now. In fact, a lot of even the big movie companies are using these cameras around $2,000 price range because they're disposable. If something happens to it, it's not going to break the bank. But it has opened up for people like you to make indie movies that could never have done it on a budget. I mean, you don't have to worry about the cost of, burning off film, having it developed, and then, it's all done on a memory card, and the quality is just as good for cinema quality as film was. And it's crazy.
Yeah, it's look, I have a nostalgic love, not even necessarily nostalgic, but I do think movies shot on film, I don't know, there's the quality and texture of it. I find you still can't beat it. It's like vinyl, there's something that feels 100% cinematic when you feel like you're watching something that's not that digital crispness. It's more like it's shot on film. It looks like it's this standalone world that's been created, that you're kind of watching at a distance, but it feels like a world has been created. And I would argue sometimes movies on digital now, everything's so crisp that almost lends itself to a dull, flat kind of artificiality. I wouldn't completely knock it. I'm just acknowledging the contrast between film and digital, because again, I wouldn't be able to call myself a filmmaker if not for the invention of digital. So you're 100% right. I would not be able to have started making movies and continuing to do so if not for digital. And it's just the way you can go about the whole process is certainly more affordable. And with the movie that I have completed, in which we're very close to acquiring distribution, hopefully it's out there by the end of this year, actually. But there was no money for monitors and to shoot on film and develop on film. So, yes, thank you. God bless digital.
Oh, yeah. One thing I will say this, my son went and bought one of these real high definition TVs, and I was over to his house, about a week ago for a barbecue. And I was watching some sci-fi movies because that's, hey, what do? I do a paranormal talk show. So naturally, I'm going to watch something paranormal. I was watching a late paranormal, sci-fi movie. It was shot high def. And then I was watching it on his high def, TV. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't like it. It was missing something. Yeah. It was like too fake looking to me. Now, maybe that's because I'm old, I'm getting senile, but it just didn't have the feel that film has. But you know
Right.
what? You know what? You can't. Look at this. You do a scene, right? And your actor blows it. Or you blow it as a cameraman, right? You just sit there and erase it or reformat the card, and you start over again. You don't have to worry about, hey, you just shot $300, $400 worth of film down for nothing.
It's insane. I mean, my sister went to NYU film school, and they were shooting on film and developing on film. And, you know, students in film school don't have money to put into developing film. So you're talking about thousands and thousands of dollars just for school projects. And, it's just so it's an interesting, crazy, weird, costly process. But I totally get what you're saying. I don't think you're senile. I totally get the difference and the pros and cons of digital. I do think it's getting harder to tell nowadays. Like, there's movies that have been shot on shot on film that I could swear were shot on digital, and vice versa. So it's obviously evolving, but yeah, there can be this weird. There's this quality to digital of, not to get too hung up on this, but like there's a quality of digital that it's so good it's bad in a weird way. But that's a general statement.
Oh, yeah. But just look at that. I mean, you know, when you're directing a movie, like I just said, and somebody blows a scene, I mean, you don't have to sit there and wonder, like, oh, my God, especially if you're doing a self-funded movie, you know, oh, my God, what am I going to do for the film? How am I going to get more money to buy more film? I mean, hey, you go back through and, you know, you just start over again. I mean, you don't have that cost. And that, I mean, right there is a godsend for people making indie movies. You know, I'm not going to say how much your movie costs, but we talked about. But I mean, you know, I've had a lot of people make major movies in the $100,000, $50,000 range. And, you know, it astounds me when these studios drop millions and millions and millions of dollars. And then they figure out how much is it going to, you know, how much people have to go see it to, you know, generate their money back. So if you don't have that huge cost of, you know, production, wow, you can, you know, it's more capable of, you're capable of making more money down the road.
Well, yes, and look, our movie is called Screamer. I'm an actor in it. I'm one of two actors in it, so it's basically a 3-person cast. I'm a co-director, co-writer, co-editor, co-producer on it, and in total, it's a 4-person cast and crew with a couple additional people once you get into the post of it, like music, sound design, one visual effect in post. But I will say, within all that, the digital cam, we shot our film on the Sony A7S camera, and I think it's a nice balance because our movie doesn't look immensely polished, but it also doesn't look like crap. So we're somewhere in this interesting balance of kind of grimy, but also, you know, it's high def. But considering the stories about my character's a loner who's obsessed with a webcam girl online and then discovers that this webcam girl lives in his apartment complex and then tries to develop a quote-unquote real relationship with her outside of the webcam communication. I think the look of our movie complements the content of our film and how dark it goes. And we play a lot with shadows and but also we keep it a lot interior with very at some points it gets very surreal in terms of our lighting. But all of this is just to say that you can achieve some great high quality stuff. It's just about, I think ultimately it's about embracing your constraints, and therein lies the freedom that you can get out of that. Whereas, you know, we try to make a movie that we could actually make given the resources and time that we had. You know, we all have jobs, so we were shooting this for over a year, after work, weekends, evenings,